What does it actually mean to be smart? Is it just some number you get on a test? Or is it something, I don't know, deeper, more complex, and way more personal? Well, today we're going to dive into the psychology of intelligence and really try to uncover what it truly means to be brilliant. Seriously, think about it for a second. When you hear that word smart, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it some math whiz scribbling equations on a chalkboard? A brilliant writer who can just weave magic with words? Or maybe, it's just someone who gets people. For a long, long time, the answer to how smart are you was pretty much boiled down to a single number, a score, like 125 from an IQ test. But what does a number like that really capture? And, I think more importantly, what does it miss? As we're about to see, it is far from the whole story. Okay, so before anyone could even dream of measuring intelligence, they had to wrestle with a much, much bigger question first. What even is it? So let's start right there by nailing down what psychologists are actually talking about when they say the word smart. The formal definition is honestly surprisingly active. It's not about having a giant library of facts just stored in your head. No, it's about three key skills: the ability to learn from experience, the ability to solve problems, and, this is the big one, the ability to use what you know to adapt to brand new situations. It's all about navigating the real world, not just a textbook. And that just flips the whole script, right? Intelligence isn't something you just have. It's something you do. The focus here is all on action and application, not just passively collecting knowledge. So, once psychologists started seeing intelligence as this active skill, the next question was pretty much inevitable. Can we measure it? And this question, well, it takes us all the way back to the early 20th century and the story of how the very first IQ test was born. The road to that three-digit score is, frankly, fascinating. It all started way back in the late 1800s, with people trying to connect genius to physical stuff like reaction times. But the real breakthrough, the game changer, came in 1904 with Alfred Binet. His goal wasn't to rank geniuses, not at all. It was to help students in Paris who were falling behind by figuring out their mental age. It was a tool for support. It was only later, in 1916, when a guy named Louis Terman at Stanford University adapted it into the famous Stanford-Binet IQ test, that this idea of a single, powerful score really took hold. And that laid the foundation for the tests we still use today. But, as soon as a test like this existed, a huge debate kicked off in the world of psychology, a debate that is still going on right now. Is intelligence one single thing we can measure, or are there lots of different ways to be smart? So, on one side of the ring, you have psychologist Charles Spearman. He noticed something pretty interesting. People who scored high on one kind of mental test, let's say verbal skills, tended to score high on other ones too, like spatial reasoning. He figured this must be because of a single underlying general intelligence, what he called the G factor. You can think of it like the central processor in a computer. It's the core mental horsepower that drives all your other thinking skills. But then, in the 1980s, a psychologist named Howard Gardner came along and completely challenged that whole idea. He looked out at the world and saw all these brilliant people who would probably bomb a traditional IQ test. Incredible musicians, amazing athletes, super charismatic leaders. He argued that we actually have multiple, totally separate intelligences. Everything from the word smarts we know to body smarts and even people smarts. So you end up with these two really powerful ways to think about intelligence. Is it a single, powerful engine, like the G-factor idea, or is it more like a toolkit, like Gardner suggested, packed with a bunch of specialized tools for different jobs? In that view, hey, you might be a master with a hammer, but not so great with a wrench, and that's perfectly fine. So we have these two camps, the single engine versus the diverse toolkit. But look, this is not just some dusty academic argument. How we define intelligence has a massive real-world impact on our lives, from the classroom all the way to the workplace. So really, why does all this matter? Well, the data is pretty clear that traditional IQ scores are actually powerful predictors of certain things. There's a super strong link to doing well in school, which makes sense, right? Schools often test for these exact skills. There's also a moderate link to job performance. But then, look at the correlation with life satisfaction. It's low. And that right there is the crucial insight. A high IQ is absolutely no guarantee of a happy, meaningful life. And that really gets to the heart of it all. A quote that's often linked to Einstein just says it perfectly. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. Our standardized tests, for all their uses, are simply not designed to measure the things that so often matter most in life: creativity, resilience, emotional wisdom, or just pure curiosity. So, after looking at all of this, from the very first IQ tests to these huge competing theories, it really seems like maybe we've been asking the wrong question the whole time. So, instead of asking, "How smart are you?" perhaps the better question, the real question, is how are you smart? Because intelligence isn't some single ladder we are all trying to climb. It's a unique profile of our own personal strengths. It's the personal toolkit each of us gets to use to navigate the world. And recognizing that in yourself and celebrating it in others, well, that is the first step to unlocking your own unique kind of genius.